Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of eCoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the B2C Marketer's Guide to Lead Generation, strategies and techniques that work with Kike Lopez. Kike is the Chief Marketing Officer at Panorama Press, a full-service marketing and promotions company based in Atlanta, Georgia. He has a Bachelor's of Administration degree from Georgia State University and has been helping businesses for the last 30 years to increase their website traffic, get more leads, and close more sales using the latest marketing strategies and sales techniques. When not wearing his marketing hat, he enjoys playing soccer as well as enjoying art, music, and philosophy. Kike, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, right on. So you've been a hustler, I saw from my research. What was it like as a child growing up for you?
Well, I was born in Colombia, and I came up here, and and I ended up in New Orleans, and came to Atlanta to go to school at Emory, and then I realized I didn't want to be a doctor, so. Like my parents. So then I went to business school at Georgia State, and in those days, it wasn't the right place for entrepreneur. They didn't have entrepreneurial programs, and most of what they taught in school was mostly how to get a job with a big company kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
and how to solve a problem is getting together with a focus group, and that just did not sit well with me. So when I got out of school, I said, wow, I didn't learn anything about what I wanted to learn, which was business. I wanted to start a business, run a business, everything about it. I didn't get that education. So I ended up, since Georgia State's downtown Atlanta, I'd go by there and I'd see all these buildings in different parts and stuff, and I saw an old abandoned building that I said, wow, I just took a shot, and I contacted the owners of the buildings, and let me fix it up, give me a few months free rent, and I'll just try to figure it out. And so first thing I did, I found the bulletin boards. So back then, I found the 4-color press, and that's how Panorama Press came about. And so I was doing screen printing and things like that, and and there were artists there, and I found out, okay, well, these people have interesting art that I could put on a shirt. So anyway, selling those things, I ended up moving into selling band shirts, and then I realized, wow, these bands say, well, you have a nice place. Can we do a show here? So yeah. So I found out, okay, well, people want to come here and watch these things. So, well, I'm just selling beer. Needless to say, in those days, just doing parties, and the police, they wanted me there. They said, hey, you know what? You're bringing life to this downtown area. And they said, you can do what you can do, but you need to get a license. I ended up figuring out how to get a license and do all the certificate of occupancy and all that stuff. And then I realized I'm downtown and there are all these people here. I need to sell them food. So I said, well, I know that everybody downtown, everybody likes, Cajun food. Everybody does, Black people love Cajun food. White people love Cajun food. Everybody loves Cajun food. Everybody. And so I figured, okay. I ended up one bit at a time, getting a sink, doing that, getting the stuff. And over time, I ended up having a successful restaurant, and and I got into the music business. I ended up having different restaurants, and I was promoting, bands and things like that. And, I was music promotion, which was really my entry into understanding marketing. So I was near Georgia Tech, right? And so all my workers were Georgia Tech students, and these people were coming up to me and say, hey, about, how to promote, your stuff. You got to, use bulletin boards. And I was doing that stuff. I said, okay, this is cool. And then it went into, once websites came, I was doing band catalogs, websites, and things like that. And so I was learning I guess, a hybrid of passing flyers and bulletin boards and things like that. And, learning, back then, the band, you could see who were influencers in those days is people who can get other people to, to do stuff, influence them to come see a show. So that was kind of cool. And so, and I'm giving you the short,
of course. The Reader's Digest version. That's okay.
Yeah. So
it's very interesting though. It's very interesting already.
Yeah. So it was a weird situation trying to, really starting off doing guerrilla marketing. And talk about guerrilla. I was helping, the people in the neighborhood, homeless people. I put them in an apron to pass out flyers in the corner. They were happy making their money, and I was selling food, and again the police were fine with me, because they were my customers. So everybody say, hey, you're bringing, we'll let this go. You're just passing out menus, and so we moved on from, once the city realized, hey, these flyers are such a nuisance. And anyway, I ended up moving into more digital stuff, and that's how I transitioned slowly into that. And so. And then I started saying, well, you know what? These other businesses are going, well, can you help me with a website? Everybody needs starting to realize, hey, we need websites. And I got into websites. And then, over time, my children came and things like that. And I soon realized, well, you know what? I can't be in this kind of business with children that I have to raise. So I said, well, you know what? I'm doing well. I can make more money making a website than I could, hustling a bunch of sandwiches and crawfish and gumbo and things. So so it was to me it was I would consider a very fortunate transition to get into that. So and I learned how to. Again, it all came down to influencers, which is, when the term came, influencers, wow, haven't I heard that thing before? I think they were called opinion leaders at some point. Absolutely. And that worked out in so many different ways. And influencers are gatekeepers of businesses and things like that. So it's just a really interesting thing. And then the flyers still existed, but the interesting part was, the art that came out of these flyers is just incredible. And we noticed how, like, the better the art, the greater the chances that somebody's going to go see it, even if they never heard the music.
Oh, the higher the quality.
Of
the higher the quality of the art.
Yes.
Here's a question for you though. Do you think that relates to the web as well? Like, for instance, the higher quality of the website in regards to the professionalism of the graphics, the logo, the colors, the color theory, the layout,
best
the design,
the best hire I did was getting a top-notch graphics guy to new balance and symmetry and all the things that you mentioned, and that it went on into the digital world, and so websites were still back at the beginning were just very basic and stuff, but you could still
they were HTML. Strictly HTML. Were you building websites when they were just HTML with tables and no CSS?
Yeah. I didn't. I mean, obviously
but you had probably people that were.
These Georgia Tech students were inspired. They're smart, inspired, and they were very happy to apply what they learned at school into real world applications. So
and get some experience, obviously.
It was a definite win-win. And so
was that instrumental in you being able to grow your business by leveraging their expertise and being in that 100%. Location where you're that close to that school?
100%. I would say
awesome.
Lucky. When I found this building, I didn't know that I was next to Georgia Tech.
Oh, wow.
I just got lucky, that it just happened that way. So it's very, very interesting. I learned a lot. They taught me more than anything. So
that's amazing.
the students
Just being in the right
taught
time
me.
at the right place. I think it said when
Yeah.
opportunity meets experience, that's when things happen. I can't remember. There's a
Yeah.
famous entrepreneur who said that.
So yeah, something
Opportunity.
like that. But there's times when you'd sit there and go, God, what do I do? What? I got to keep myself busy. I'd
Yeah.
just paint the building for the sake of painting the building, because people see you painting the building, they're going to stop by and say, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it was bizarre things of like that it almost seems mindless,
Yeah.
but it created some sort of energy. I can't even explain it to this day. Just
Oh,
doing what seems mindless.
yeah.
It brought in good positive stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So as a
So
result of you starting this and evolving into it's like it was an evolution. You learned how to do business, you learned how to
right.
hustle, you learned how to bring people in, and then other people started asking you, "Hey, you seem to be good at this." And they didn't
Yeah.
ask you if, "Hey, do you have a diploma in marketing or anything like that?" They're just like, "Hey, this guy's good at this already."
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, really, everybody just wants more business. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
care. Can you bring me more business, or can't you?
Exactly.
And so,
They don't care
so
about
I
seeing
just,
if you have a degree or a diploma in yeah.
right, exactly. So for me, web design was just the entry point.
Yeah.
Until I really ended up being as more like a business consultant, where I'd sit there and figure out, okay, you got certain employees. Well, let's figure out, how to incorporate them into your marketing, and then
Yeah.
use that existing, assets, that being your people, to to promote your business. So I applied all the different things that I learned from, restaurant and nightclub business and music business, all that
Yeah.
stuff really applied to other businesses as well.
Wow.
So,
So you were taking your firsthand knowledge and firsthand knowledge and firsthand experience. This is very
right.
interesting, EK, because I myself wish that I had gone the path that you went, where I started my own business. Instead of trying to be a marketing consultant to people first, I wish that I had started my own business, like as a mortgage broker or a realtor or a financial advisor or something like that along those lines, and then learned those skills and then built up experience and expertise like you did, and then apply that to helping other people. Because what I've found is that people, if you don't have some experience, like the question that people always ask me sometimes in regards to web design, well, what have you done? It's like, and maybe I haven't back then. I'm going back 10 years, by the way. Or when I first tried to start selling websites to people, and it's interesting because maybe if I had just said, hey, the heck with it, I'll become a mortgage broker and build my own mortgage broker website and use these skills to build up a business, then I'll have credibility with people, because without a portfolio, there was no credibility. That's something I learned from BNI. There's visibility, credibility, and profitability. And if you don't have the first two, you're not going to have the third. And so I just found it's very interesting that you're able to, that you did that. And therefore you established yourself as an expert just by your experience of running those different businesses.
Yeah, I learned, having to manage like 100 employees.
Gosh,
in an industry that's just absolute chaos every single day. We were going, day and night. As soon as the bands were finishing up, the breakfast people were coming in, setting up breakfast.
Wow.
So all that stuff, you sit there and you go to your clients and go, I know what you're going through, dealing with whatever it is that you're dealing with. I really can relate. And they can feel, they know that you can feel their pain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's a big
and that's
thing.
so key, that you can relate to them and their pain. Because I can't. I've never run a business with 100 people.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think I could ever learn from school or any kind of class or anything like that, because it's painful. It is.
Hey, did you have, besides the direct experience, did you have anybody who you sought out as a mentor, even indirectly through books or courses or anything like that?
The old businessmen in the neighborhood, they saw this kid, out there hustling, doing crazy stuff. What is he doing? They'd come in. So if it wasn't for these people, these businessmen who, for example, I'll give you an example. I had no idea how to put together a plan for building a kitchen. I had no idea. Yeah. And these guys would come by, you'd be driving, they'd ask me, what are you doing? And then they go, well, come over here. Let me show you what we do. Blah blah blah. If you give me a couple of po' boys or whatever, I'll draw something up for you. And so and that process, they would be, they'd give me like bits of wisdom. For example, you better be there at the end of the night collecting your cash because somebody else is going to be collecting it if you don't. And things like that, or how to talk to the building inspectors or all those things, or telling you not to waste your money on things. And, it ended up just, when things are tough, I just go and, one of these guys, like, for instance, a hardware store down the street, the guy who owned it for 30 years, he'd sit there and tell me, hey, look at this. This is how you do this. Be careful of this. And, you better make friends with the neighborhood. You better keep the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood, your allies. Yeah. So that's why I was hiring people in the neighborhood, because they took care of me. And that was a result of their wisdom that, why I don't want to say, don't just limit yourself to hiring the textures, bring the people in the neighborhood because they'll take care of you. And sure enough, so I got a whole bunch of things from those people, and the police too. The police will tell you what you need to do and what not to do in a way that was very cooperative. They were there they wanted to see you do well.
They want to see you succeed.
Well, they see you working, when, other people your age are doing other stuff. So they were, it was an interesting thing. All the different mentors everywhere, like back in, for instance, 95, the Atlanta Braves were there, and I got introduced into, because their warehouses got introduced to vending Brave stuff. And that helped me generate enough capital, because everything I did was self-funded. I never borrowed money.
Never borrowed, yeah.
Yeah, so, I learned, okay, these people tell you, hey, you go to this warehouse, you get this, you go over here, you don't do this, you don't do that. Don't pay them before, don't pay them. You can work out a deal this way, but you don't, so all those things, I can't put
it into words how valuable it was to you. Yeah, I'm thankful enough.
And thankful of people not hating on you. On the opposite. I learned.
Well, thank God
to have
for that.
a lot of trust in these people that, now that I'm old and stuff like that, I get it now from their standpoint.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling inside when you can help somebody. So, especially
so would you say
somebody who's helping themselves.
Yeah. Would you say it's important then to have a mentor that it's instrumental to find mentors?
Yes. Yeah. Mentors. Yeah. In the plural, because they're all over the place. You just got to find them, and they're probably right in front of you. And, you just got to go there and shake their hands and ask them things that, not like give me something or anything like that. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? This is a struggle I'm going through, and blah, blah, blah. So,
or what about,
that's a big thing.
What about in order to build the relationship with them, providing value to them first before you ask them for, making a deposit, John Maxwell in his books talks about this leadership. He says, you need to make deposits before you make withdrawals. Like if you want help from someone, you need to make a deposit, and then a withdrawal. And the deposit being you do things for them, not to manipulate them, just to be a good person, and then make a withdrawal.
Well, and a simple question is, a real honest, simple question that, you as a novice or whatever, that they like that, they can tell their story to me, or their different stories. So at least somebody's listening to them, because as businessmen, we're all isolated, in a way.
This is so true. This is so true.
So that's one of the, it's a very, very important part, probably the most important part that if you say, why was I successful? Is that was probably mentors. One of the biggest, yes. And luck.
And luck,
So,
what about,
you make your luck. So,
yeah. I think is when opportunity meets experience, that's when luck happens.
Yeah. You're not doing something.
Yeah.
If you don't know, just do something, and if something will happen. Exactly.
Something will happen.
It's
interesting.
Something will happen.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki, in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, whenever he wanted an opportunity to happen, he just gave away money. And he tells story after story how things would happen. He'd make a donation somewhere or give money or whatever, and then just business would arise.
I painted the building.
There you go. You painted the building. And look what happened. You gave to the building and to the community, and look what happened. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
Over and over. Yeah. And that's, it helps their business too. And so, I was able to help them, once I got started, then I could say, well, you know what? I have this restaurant now. I can support your business.
Yeah.
I can help your business. I can drive people to your business. And And it all works out that way, and they introduce you to somebody, and, it all worked out that way.
Yeah. It's kind of like the rising tides raises all ships principle. That as they helped you were raised up, and then were raised up, and then we're able to help them. What about flipping
and social media? And that's social media.
Yeah.
And from another era.
Yeah, that was social media, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The principles of social media. Yeah, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's really weird, but I see so many correlations. Back then to now.
So then tell me about that. How your career evolved, and you talked about how you started hiring these Georgia Tech students, and and growing, and you got more and more into the marketing side of things.
Yes. So, I sold my businesses in 2004 I'll just start an agency, but I wasn't even thinking of as a marketing agency. I was just more like a consultant.
Okay.
And so I wasn't even thinking like that. I was thinking the website is just part of being a consultant, not as marketing. But then I realized, hey, the definition of this is marketing. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was just, so that's how it ended up being. And, and then that time Google was just starting. I started to, immediately, as soon as Google AdWords came, I got into that right away, because realizing, websites are nice and this, that, the other, but if the leads don't come in, then,
if the traffic doesn't come,
it doesn't mean anything then. And so I really gravitated to Google AdWords, and then I did the early SEO, did really well at the very beginning, where exact match domain was number EMDs. One and things like that. It was easy
to rank.
Yeah, but I was able to scale a few companies quickly. That's what established me in marketing. Was I had a local company, an appliance repair company here in Atlanta. There was just a few technicians and stuff like that. And then, in about a year, we ended up with 10,000 domains for county cities all through the country.
I see. Yeah.
And we helped them. We had steady leads. It was just steady leads that allowed them to grow, and they had their way of, hiring, technicians and things like that. And technicians loved it because, they're trying to do it themselves, but here's leads.
Yeah. Yeah.
His leads and steady money and they don't have to worry about marketing or the processes that the company provided, parts and infrastructure, call center, things like that. So
you were providing, did you own the EMDs? Like, were you providing the leads through those sites?
Yeah.
They were your domains that you owned, and then you were just launching them in.
Well, we ended up partnering. So
partnering. Okay. Oh,
yeah.
That's interesting.
So we were. The crazy part is how fast we were able to scale. That was
wow.
It was
so
unbelievable.
Shut the front door for me. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. Sorry. It's like wow. This because you just said something profound. This is unique. Like, you partnered with the appliance repair company as a joint venture, or as a partnership with equity in their company?
A joint venture.
Joint venture.
Yeah, I really didn't want to. I didn't want to be a partner. So
yeah. And was that based on as a joint venture? Was it based on the compensation for you? Was it based on a per lead basis, or was it based on revenue?
Oh no, it wasn't. It was it was based on revenue. So for the per lead basis, it was still too difficult to put a price tag on a lead. We're still, it was really hard to define what's a real lead and things like that. Yeah. So
back then it was a little more difficult. Today it's a little easier, but still difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it still is, because today, you're able to have call tracking and forms and all the conversion tracking stuff. But in the end, you have to, you're still dealing with the question of, is this a good lead or is this a bad lead? Is this lead from here or is this lead from there? And even with all that stuff, all the tracking stuff, you still have to have the client do work in identifying, this came from here, this came from there. So that's a difficult thing.
Yeah. Well, how do you differentiate then, working with clients, to differentiate between a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead?
Today?
Yeah, today. Or even back then, or what's the difference between then and now? I mean, then it was harder, but is there anything that you can speak to today?
Well, I mean,
perhaps?
like for instance, in call tracking, a lot of these companies, they'll sit there and say, okay, well, you need to have your client go one by one and say, okay, this is one, this is not, this is good, this is not, in an effort, if it's integrated with, let's say, Google AdWords, to teach Google AdWords, what is what. But it's difficult, because it comes down to the client investing time in defining these things, where they just they got so much going on that, they just gotta, it's just hard. And then if you try to delegate that, they're still having a hard time, whoever they're delegating to. So, so it's kind of, it's not a big problem as it was before, and it always falls into the idea, the eternal battle between sales and marketing,
like I said to you off camera, I experienced that firsthand when I was the marketing director at a car dealership. The sales team was saying that what I was doing wasn't working, and I knew that was bullcrap.
Right.
And implemented all of the KPIs and tracking. And at the end of the day, I was able to show, look how much traffic we've increased by. Look at how many leads we have. And don't tell me that these aren't qualified leads. And look at what the sales team's doing and the activity in the CRM.
Yeah,
there is none.
You're always.
I look down at the floor, see them sitting on their hands with their thumbs up their butts, joking around, throwing stuff at one another. Why aren't you on the phone? Why aren't you on your computer? Why aren't you working? Do you think that someone's just going to hand you something just because that this is a lead, that they're not looking at other dealerships and getting quotes, and the person who makes the connection with them first, or some kind of emotional connection or physical connection is going to be the one who gets the deal? So it's like, there is work to be done to sell stuff. I've done both things. It's interesting. I've done marketing and sales. I know how to do both. And so it's I'm glad you and I are having this conversation.
And it's funny that it's like a constant battle. The leads suck. No, they don't. Are you following up? Or many times you provide too many leads and they just get, just
Inundated.
do, okay, pick
Overwhelmed.
and choose. This one looks good. This
Cherry
one
pick.
doesn't. I'll ignore this one. The deal.
Oh, I totally
So
understand.
yeah. So, that was always the battle. And it still goes today to a certain extent, but it's better. And the clients that I work the best with, it's now turned into more of a team instead of there's a salespeople and there's a marketing team. Now it's us actually
integrated.
having discussions and respect going both ways.
Yeah, that's important, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It's huge. They got to respect you, and you got to respect them. Because it's not easy at the same time. Chasing leads. At what point do you say a lead is dead? All those things. So
my goodness,
that's a tough one.
It's very interesting to say when a lead is dead.
I say it never dies.
Yeah, it never dies. If there's a saying about the grave, a lead, you don't follow up and leave until they're in the grave or until until they're either, this is what it is in the car industry anyway, until they're either dead or they tell you to piss off.
Right.
Until they, and in stronger language, unless they die or tell you to piss off or stronger language, you don't stop following up. And it's funny.
Yeah.
I would take I used, I can't remember his name, but Joe Polish and his partner. And if his partner listens to this, the guy's on ilovemarketing.com, the 9-word email. He was a realtor turned marketer, and Joe Polish, of course, started out with carpet cleaning. But the 9-word email is all you put in the subject line is first name. Are you still interested in a car? Are you still interested in getting your vehicle fixed or whatever the case may be? Are you still interested in buying a house? Are you still interested? It's a 9-word email. And I used that.
Yeah.
I took people who I sold 3 cars, man. 3 cars using the 9-word email that otherwise there was no opportunity. And
and you know what?
Yeah.
You could drive somebody away with too many words for sure.
Absolutely.
You just, that's one thing. And, you end up helping the salespeople in those ways. They learn from you and vice versa. So
so just to backtrack, what happened?
Dynamic.
Oh, sorry. What happened with the appliance, the appliance repair venture?
Okay,
because you had all these EMDs, and I know what happened with.
You know what happened. You know exactly what happened.
So how did that? What did you do to recover?
Here's the question that was there. Okay, so do we ride this out because you're dealing stuff with duplicate content penalties. You're dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, and they say, do you ride it out? Because it is expensive just to have, a bunch of websites. It's just horribly expensive. Or do you do?
Oh, it's very expensive.
Or do you go and make one website with a whole bunch of pages?
Different pages.
So needless to say, it was almost an overnight collapse, of that. So the owners decide, well, we just want one website and stuff like that. And I'll say, you know what, let's keep these other websites and stuff like that. But just the crazy part, years later, but still, the leads drop, completely. But years later, these same websites now are selling for a lot of money because now for some reason I don't know. They became valuable again. So in retrospect, it would have been good to hold on to them, and because you have this suburban town exact match domain still important. It became important, and so it was just
I hear you.
The strange thing. And 2008 was, and you trying to think, okay, is it the economy? Or is it Google? Is it Google? Penalties, or is it people changing their habits? So it was all real interesting stuff. Looking in retrospect now of how these things, progress or whatever you want to say.
You had talked about the value of having a mentor. What about having a protege? Someone who you can
Yeah. That's a tough one
now, or
well, I've done it. I've done it several times, and I find gratification in it. Obviously, you're going to lose them if you mentor them too good.
True.
Yeah. So, but no, I like helping young people trying to get their agencies going. So I do like doing that, tell them, hey, don't do this. And that pays off in the end as well, because, I don't know what you call it. Good karma comes back.
Yeah.
And so, I find that now I understand what the guys mentoring me, I find, satisfaction in that I'm actually able to deliver something to somebody who really makes impact on their life.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that, so I'm still in touch with people, that I've helped out and stuff like that. So it turns into a quality of life thing. I don't know how to explain that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So makes it worthwhile, than just much more than just, all these, everybody,
taking
greedy or what. Yeah. So it
better
feels
to give
lot.
than receive.
It is. People don't want to say that, but it comes back multiplied to, in many ways, directly or indirectly. So.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, that's what I think. I could be wrong,
and it's true. You're not wrong.
No,
there's studies that there's even books written about it. I can't remember what his name is. There's a guy who just wrote in a book. I read it. It's shoot. Anyway, it's a book about giving. It's just in business, and it's a phenomenal book. I wish that I could remember it right now, but the guy's a very popular author. He's written several other books, and he's a psychologist. And maybe someone will figure it out, or maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But
we don't have much time on this earth,
Yeah, no, we don't.
Is it all about business?
Yeah.
Nah, it's about people and things like that. Because we don't have much time.
No.
So
yeah, when you think about how long this when you think about how long this has been this, what's the word I'm looking for? When you think about how long this earth has been around, and just how short a time we have on this earth, the 82 years or something, you're right. It's So
when you start out, you're asking the question about what's the meaning of life thing. So there,
absolutely.
Are you going to find meaning in your life and why you do things? So you take care of your family, but there's other people, why are we living? So
here's the book.
It's
called Give and Take: Why Helping Others Drives Our Success by Adam Grant.
Oh,
yeah, it's a phenomenal book.
And business is good, people put down business, but it's good when it, when it's personal, I mean, I don't know about big giant corporations, and I don't like dealing with them myself.
No, they're very impersonal.
Just because it's very impersonal.
All about the bottom line.
Yeah. And that, I think I like to, when we have these discussions, that there is a difference in business between, small, medium businesses and big, impersonal, giant corporations, that, we can't put everything in one pile. I'm sure that the inner workings and stuff within these, I don't know, but I'm just on the idea of, businesses being evil or whatever. I don't. Yeah. I see this as a business as a positive thing. We all help each other. You can't go in business by yourself.
No,
you can't. You can't. You think you're by yourself. You're not. So, that's the very important thing.
Principle. Thank you for Well, Kiki, hey, thanks you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thanks,
where can
Matt.
our audience? Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. If our audience wants to connect with you online, how can they do so?
Well, I mean, Our website's panoramapress.net. I mean, that would be the easiest, you know.
And are you personally though on LinkedIn or anything like that, or?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Kike Lopez.
Okay.
Yeah, Kike Lopez.
All right.
Yeah. QUIQUELOPEZ.
Sure. We'll make sure to put it in the show notes. That's for sure.
Oh, well, thanks. It's been nice talking to you, Matt.
You as well. Thanks so much again.
Yes, sir.